Okay, so there are okay, I'll also show you. I'm not a big fan of this, but I'll just show you. There were some questions about word art. So yeah, word art is possible. So you can have word art. So you have these kind of shadows, etc. You can have outlines. So word art, your text comes here. So this one text, right? So the good thing about word art, I mean, I don't know, I'm not particularly, I never use it, but just in case any of you want to use it, there are a variety of effects that are possible over here. One, you can give different types of shadows. So if you notice, there is a subtle effect of the shadow. It looks like it's rotating, right? So the shadows are changing constantly. You notice that, right? So you'll have a variety of different types of shadows possible. See, perspective, shadows at the back, right? Not commonly used, not you know, in the modern style is very flat kind of style is modern. So avoid using these kind of shadows. Glow, again, if you want to have, you can have it, and you can always control the amount of glow and everything that you want to. So if you control what should be the glow color, so it glows in a light yellow, right? So this is too much of glow, so you have a very slight bit of glow, right? 1 point or 2 points of glow, and the yellow is too bright yellow, so I'm going to increase the transparency so that the yellow becomes sort of muted kind of a yellow, right? So when you are having this kind of glows and things like that, then just make sure you play around with it, so to make it look nice. But there are certain important things available here under transform. So you can have it follow a certain path, a curve like this, a curve like this, a circle like this, right? You can have it go into a variety of warped text. I don't really know why someone would want to use something of this sort, but yeah, they are there if you would want to use a warp text. But this comes in kind of useful to people. This would sort of be useful. So if you have to do this, then you have to make sure this becomes like a squarish shape. Okay, the squarish shape will turn into a circle. So if you say this line of text, right? So again, I don't know who needs to use it, but if you have something like, if you want to have, I don't know, whatever, if you just need to have something of this sort, you can go ahead and have something of this sort. Personally, I don't use it much, or I don't use this at all. But if you would want, you can do it. And you can also have a circle if you're trying to make a logo or something like that. You can have a circle over here. Right? So you can do these kind of things. These are all possible to do with word art. All right. So okay, a couple of questions here. If you can crop the image in PowerPoint, like there is written something in an image, so I want to hide how to do that. Yes, you can crop the image, but you can't crop like in specific places. So you can only crop one entire part of the image. So let's say I have a picture, and I can crop one entire part. So if there is something written on top of it, I can't only crop that out. That's not possible. Okay, that's not possible. But if you want, you can do the remove background just like what we had done before, but that probably will not help you entirely. Okay, you can also have corrections in the color, like you can have it brighter, you can have more contrasty. So this is too bright, too contrasty. This is probably an okay thing. But if you want to reduce contrast, that's also possible. You can go ahead and reduce contrast. So some basic color correction is possible. You can have some basic recoloring. Yeah. Useful if you're trying to change this to a background thing. So this becomes useful. You can have artistic effects, make it look like a watercolor and stuff. Again, personally, I'm not a big fan, but yeah, if you want, you can go ahead and use these kind of artistic effects, right? You can make all of these transparent. I'll show you use case of making them transparent. So all of these things are possible. There's a question from Dr. Deepika asking, in PowerPoint justified text, should we have justified text or not? I wouldn't advise to do it. You know, personally, it makes readability suffer. So readability is quite bad with justified text. So I wouldn't really advise you to do that at all. Okay, so avoid having that. But if you want, you can go ahead and do that. Okay. How to insert a video? I think I have shown that multiple times, haven't I? I mean, I haven't shown exactly by inserting a video, but the process is the same. So insert a video, stock videos or online videos, or a video from your own computer, whatever you choose to do. So you can do whatever one of the videos you can just select. So download the video. Okay, so while this downloads, I've just connected through another device. What I'll do is I will show you a couple of my older presentations just to sort of get an idea of uh, what are the possibilities, right? What the possibilities are. Anyway, this is a video. This is a video. So if you see, it's playing. It's a very simple video, of course, but it's there. So if you want, you can come here, and on the full slide also, it's playing the video. Yeah. So it's just looping around. If you want, you can have, as soon as you move the mouse a little bit, you see the video controls. So that's about it. So now, when you have a lot of these kind of pictures, then you will find the file size is quite big. The file size is quite big. So what you'll have to do is, you can come here, select any of the images, double click, compress pictures. So come here, apply only to this picture, or uncheck it, it will apply to all of the pictures on the PowerPoint file. So you say use web resolution or print if you want, but you can use web resolution for most of them. Click OK. All of the files will compress in this one. Okay, all of them will compress over here. Okay, questions. How to group images? So if I want to group these two shapes, right? So I hold control, and I select both of them together. If I want to group this image also, hold control. I can't group that, but I can group these two shapes together without the image, or I can group two images together. So group, that's all. So this now becomes like a separate image. Okay. Screenshot, it depends on the Windows version. Screenshot does not depend on the Office version. Okay, screenshot depends on the Windows version. In the newer Windows, you will have something called a snipping tool, or you can use Windows Shift and S. So if you use Windows Shift and S, you'll get the snipping tool, and you can have a screenshot there. Okay, so your attendance link is there. So I'm just going to pause, and I'll just also show you some presentations from some of my past presentations. Okay. So yeah, that was just a small glimpse about what the possibilities are. So if you see, you just have to use your own creativity a lot, and just go ahead and do these kind of things. I saw some questions about what's the best place to choose pictures. I find it often very hard to look for images. Yeah, so that's an important thing to talk about. I will cover this later, but you can get into Pixabay, right? All of these are free, so you'll have images that are free. You can go into pexels.com, right? And again, these are also going to be free. Okay, so I'm going to show you this when I'll show you, I'll give you resources, etc., when we do the final session. Okay, but that's going to be there. Okay, questions. uh there's a question, I suppose, from Sahil. I want a fusion of two colors on slide. Is that a question? You want to know how to make it? I think, Sahil, I think I already covered that, no? How to have two colors fusion. So that's your gradient. You can just have the background gradient, and that will give you two colors on the side. What else? What else? Um, why does the attendance link get shared so many times? Can't find. Okay, the difference between transition and animation is very quickly. Transition is how one slide changes to another, and animation is things within that. We'll cover this in Friday's session. Okay, so that finishes what we had to do today. I'll just quickly maybe show you how that frame some text thing was made. You can have this, you can have it smaller, right? Of course, it will work better if it is a black background with white, right? But just in case, even with this one, so what I will do is insert a shape. Yes, you can make certificates in PowerPoint. Of course, you can. So I have made the shape exactly to the size of this. Okay. So now, right, go into this. Fill, there is no fill. Okay, there is no fill. And the color of the border will be something, and I'm going to increase that a lot. Right, whatever is your, whatever thing you prefer to have. So this, say whatever. And now make sure the text color also matches that. Make that a suitable font. The font has to suit this. That's all. Then it looks like, it looks framed in that. Okay, so we just used exactly what we've learned today. There's nothing very different. And yeah. Okay, there's a very relevant and a very important question from Mr. Deepak Mohan, asking, does the same rule of thumb apply to a research presentation as well as a presentation made for teaching our students? Now, there is no real one size fits all kind of a thing. Okay, like I mentioned before, you will have to think of a lot of different things. You'll have to think of things like, first of all, what is the context in which the presentation is being made, right? Are you going to have presentation being in some well-lit kind of a room versus everyone is going to do it in their own individual places and you're going to do it via Zoom? You are going to do it in terms of what your audience is. Is it an important, an audience of, say, senior folks, versus a more junior kind of audience. Depending on that, you will choose your designs and styles. If it's younger kind of audience, then you can have more edgy colors, etc. If it's older kind of audience, then you want to have slightly more muted kind of colors. And more importantly, you want to quickly get to the point, right? And then you will also have to do things like how serious is the context of the presentation, right? So I'm not saying that other presentations are unserious, but any kind of, that's not a word, I just made it up. But anyway, any presentation which is like with very senior people, okay, has to be quickly come into the point. And there you don't really want to have a lot of visual effects and things like that. Whereas if you've got a bit of time, and then visual effects can really make a good impression. So you have to decide between whether your aim is to make a very good impression or whether your aim is to get the point across quickly, right? So a lot of different things depend on it. Then again, a very important consideration is, will you be there to present, or are you going to email it to someone? If you're going to email it to someone, the contextualizing will become very different. Suppose some of the presentations I have just shown, if I were to email to someone, it's not going to work at all. It's absolutely not going to work. It'll only work if I'm standing there and presenting. In fact, I was just looking, the presentation 101, that slide, that's actually a 50 MB slide deck. So it's not going to work for sending via email. So it was made with the express intent of being there and presenting physically, right? So you have to consider all of these kind of things before you do. However, there are certain things which will always remain consistent. Which things? One, readability. Two, your entire story. Three, the logical sequencing and the overall flow of the story, which means that goes back to our session number 15, the first session of PowerPoint, where I said you make an outline and see whether what has to be covered, that is all there on all of these kind of things. These will remain consistent irrespective of who you are presenting to, where you are presenting. Everybody needs that sort of a logical thing. So if you do that while teaching your students are going to appreciate that, because they are going to understand where they are. So if you do that, in fact, I don't have another presentation I could have shown you. I'll show you on the next day. I'll show you how I use those. I mean, now, of course, during this COVID, it's all online, but earlier I used to take some corporate trainings, and those those corporate trainings are 8-hour long classes in a day, right? So you basically spend the entire morning till evening with the same batch of people. So you can imagine there would be a lot of loss of concentration and attention. So people will switch off, people will come back and things like that, right? Mentally, that is. So I mean, they are all adults, so I'm not going to be there to chaperone them and say that, hey, pay attention, pay attention. That's not what it is. But then when they move, when their attention goes away, and all I want to do is I want to be there to help them come back whenever they are ready to come back. Okay. So every time I have these placeholders. So initially they see one slide of what is going to be covered, and every now and then they see what we are talking about right now. So they quickly can get a look at where they are in the overall scheme of things and maybe what they have missed out on, things like that, right? So you'll have to really, a lot of this depends on the context. Yeah, Mr. Deepak, if hopefully that answers your question. And if you've got specific queries, I'll be very happy to discuss more. But yeah, with specific queries on your situation and what exactly you are thinking about, let me know. I'll be happy to discuss further. Abhijit is asking how to reduce the size of a PowerPoint. I just mentioned you can select images, compress the images, and then you'll be able to reduce the size quite a bit.